So tell us about the chemist you went into today.
Oh, hi.
And I'll do a hello
Okay.
George later. I'll cut it up.
Okay, yeah.
But so tell us about this chemist today.
Okay, so I was visiting some chemists today, my Chemist Whisperer role for the Cease and Desist project. And when I'm revisiting some chemists that I saw over the last year, and to see if they're still vaccinating children under 18, because there's a new directive gone out by the government this month saying not to vaccinate. It's not recommended to vaccinate kids under 18, only if they're healthy though. So if they're sick, that's fine, you can go for it. Which the logic, I don't get it, but I tried it on a couple of people today, chemists, they couldn't explain it to me. I said, no, the logic is insane, but they didn't get it. So I've been doing that. I went through 11 today. I saw 11 chemists, and one of them went into was fascinating. I said, are you still vaccinating children? And he said, oh no, not under 18s. I said, oh, okay, why is that then? And he said, oh, because I don't know. I kept a straight face, to be honest with you. I'm getting good at keeping a straight face. And he said, we're not doing it because if they've had the 2 shots, then they're covered until they're 18, and then they need 1 booster. And then they're safe until they're 30. And then from then on, they need 1 a year to make sure they keep. And I'm like, oh, really? I said, okay. I don't quite get that. But okay, thanks for letting me know. And I went out and I'm like, I don't know. I can't work it out. Wait, what? What a complete load of bollocks. Well, that is unbelievable. I'm here in Westfield in Hornsby. I've just been into Terry White pharmacy over there, had a chat to the pharmacy. Yes, they're still doing under 18s. I showed her the directive. I said, have you seen this? No. She read it. I said, so you're going to stop doing it then for children? She said, no, we're still going to recommend it. I said, but you've seen this, it says it's too dangerous for children under 18. She said, no, it doesn't mean that at all. It said the risks outweigh the benefits. And obviously, she said, if someone's immunocompromised or got some really serious disease, we'll still be giving them the COVID booster. I said, but that doesn't make sense. Anyway, she didn't get it. She did not get it. And wow. So there you go. Terry White Pharmacy here in Hornsby, Westfield. The madness continues. And you says that's a well-used antique.
I'm going to start with the chemists now and the pharmacists and the amazing work you've done with the pharmacists. First off, tell us what you actually do with them and how you started it and what you're actually doing. What's the goal of it?
Okay, how we started. It's the brainchild of Sarah in South Australia. That's all I'll say. I won't say her full name because she's going low-key. Her brainchild, a number of us have recruited around the country, and the idea initially was to go into pharmacists and first of all, ask them if they knew that they would be liable if somebody died or got injured from taking the vaccine, right? And we have proof that that is the case because the government's washed their hands of it, basically. Since then, we've had more proof. In the last 6 months, there was a court case which has been going on for 2 years, a class action against the TGA and the Medical Board of Australia by people who've been damaged, over 1,000 people. And what they said in court after 2 years, the TGA first said, we want to see proof. So they brought them a mountain of proof. And then their defense was not to question the proof, not to query it. Their defense was, we don't have a duty of care to the Australian people. Right? Which is mind-blowing if you think about it, right? So now I bring that up.
Just tell people who the TGA are, that they can actually see.
Okay, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, right? So that's like the main governing body in Australia for our health and safety. So these are
And they don't have a responsibility to us.
Correct. These are the people who, for you to get any kind of drug or even supplement through, that if there's 1,000th of a possibility that it may even be slightly dodgy, they don't allow it through. And these are the people who said safe and effective from the beginning. And now they're saying, we don't have anything to do with the Australian people. And that was their lawyer standing up in court. And then he said, if you want to go after anyone, go after the doctors and the pharmacists who are giving the injections. So that gets their ears up. If they hear that's what I was using at the end of a couple of months ago when I was doing the cease and desist notices, which is what we were doing. We were going to pharmacies, explaining that they were getting into trouble and giving them a cease and desist notice saying, please stop doing it, or you will get into trouble. And my approach was, I would start off by telling them I'm doing them a favour because I don't want them to get into trouble.
Before you go there, I know you're excellent at it now, but what was it like the first one? The first one must have been pretty nerve-wracking.
It was. It was really scary, actually.
Yeah.
Very nerve-wracking, very scary, because you're walking into not the lion's den per se, but you don't know these people, you know their stance, and you are basically asking them to stop doing it. So it was really, and I've had some interesting confrontations where security's been called, I've been banned for life, I've been threatened, a lot of things. So it was scary, but obviously, that's like most things. The more you do it, the better you get.
Where did the fear abate? So if someone else was doing it, did the fear abate as soon as you started talking to the pharmacist? It's like abseiling. Have you ever done abseiling? You're frightened, but as soon as you're over the edge, fear goes.
Until you smash your ankle at the bottom. But that might put you off. And until you look over your shoulder, that's not a good idea either. So where did it go? Look, I suppose it's like anything. Once you get into it, the adrenaline kicks in at first, and then you're just doing your thing, and then you don't have the fear. But it's the initial getting ready to go in or waiting to see the person or talk to the person, because you don't know how they're going to respond. Because you know they're going to be negative. You know they're not going to be saying, "Oh, thank you for coming to see us. That's great. We really appreciate it." You're not going to get that. So if you have a problem with, if you don't like confrontation, if you don't like being turned away, it's hard, right? But you've just got to push through that. So basically, you just got to get out of your comfort zone and do it. I mean, I'm actually fortunate. I'm good at talking to people. I like people, so it's not an issue, and I'm confident in what I'm talking about, right? So I don't start to talk about other things to do with going on in the world that I don't know about. I know what's going on here with the chemist, so that's what and the law regarding it. So I talk to them. So yeah, look. You've just got to do it, basically. Go in, put that aside, say, I'm going to do this whatever happens. And if you go in, you know you've got a script. We started with a script, which we're given, but I soon get rid of the script, and I just kind of do it off the cuff, and depending on what's in front of me, I will ad lib and I'll keep going. As long as I know the main points in my head, that's what I'll do. And so the idea initially was to get chemists to think about what they were doing and let them know they would be in trouble if they continued, and hopefully get them stop doing it. So
what are some of the interesting things you've had? I mean, I know you've had security guards and that. What are some of the things that have really moved you? In either way, either up or down.
Okay, up or down. One particular one in Roselle, which I'm looking forward to going back to, where I went there twice, and the first time I went in, the guy was incredibly arrogant, and he would be telling me stuff like, "Oh, well, just imagine all the people on the streets, if they didn't get the vaccine, they'd all be dying now and dropping like flies." And I said, "Well, yeah, look, I don't think so," and he just had no idea the damage that was being done. The second time I went in, and it was a different person. It was a woman there thinking, she can't be as bad as that. She was worse.
Oh my God.
She was, super arrogant, was saying to me, "Well, have you got any medical qualifications?" I said, "No." She said, "Have you got any pharmaceutical ones?" I said, "No, but I know how to read the report, and I've got the Pfizer trial results here, which tells you all the adverse events." And I gave it to them, and I said, "And this is your cease and desist." She said, "I'm going to put it in the bin. Don't bother giving it to me." I said, "Well, I don't care. Here it is. I've delivered it." So she said to her assistant, "Put it in the bin." So he ripped it up in front of me, and he put it in the bin.
Wow.
So I thought, wow, that's pretty arrogant. You've got to be right up there to be doing that. So look, is it, because I had a troll the other day said, "Oh, well, they're just going to put them in the bin. And have you got nothing better to do with your time than that? And you're a dickhead." And I thought, well, and why are you wasting your time? Well, yes, legally they don't have to do anything, but that's not the point. We want to plant a seed, and if we just get one to stop doing it or to think about it, you've got to do something, and that's the idea behind it. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm now revisiting all the pharmacies I went to where I gave cease and desist notices.
And tell them how many you've done today.
Today I did 11.
11.
11 in a day. So, and the reason it was 11 was the suburbs were quite close. So I did if I can remember, I went to Chatswood, Hornsby, Linfield, and close to Linfield, Roseville, Linford. Yes, I went to those as well. So, because I wanted to get as many as possible as I could do. And now it's easier because what I'm doing now is I'm revisiting the ones where I gave cease and desist notices, but I'm asking them if they're still vaccinating children, because there's a new directive that's come out last month saying it's not recommended for healthy under 18, So if you're sick, it's fine. Go ahead, get double down, it's okay. But if you're healthy, it's too dangerous.
Do you know that the actual rules are with vaccines, you're not allowed to vaccinate someone who's sick?
Oh,
did you know that?
I didn't know
I learned that from all these doctors I work out with. That's like a medical law. You don't vaccinate someone who's sick. And that's sick with anything, not just sick with COVID.
Okay, so
if they're sick, you don't vaccinate them.
Well, that's new. I've learned something. Isn't that great? I've learned something. I can bring that up as well.
Yeah.
But it's so that's one thing that we mention. And also, if they are still vaccinated, I show them the documentation that says the government says you shouldn't do it anymore because it's too dangerous. And there's a very nice line under that says children were never in danger from COVID. Right? That's essentially what it says. And I just want to see their reactions. And that's why I go face to face.
What are their reactions to that?
Look, it's varied so far. You see, my reaction would be, thinking I'm a decent human being, my reaction would be, if I've been doing it and giving it to kids, it would be, oh my God, have I been giving that to kids? And now they're saying you shouldn't do it and they've never been in danger. But I haven't seen that reaction once yet.
Not once.
Not once. The only reaction that came close was a chemist I saw about 3 days ago, actually in Hunters Hill, where I live. I was in Baronia Park, and I first saw him about a year ago when he'd just taken over the pharmacy, and he wasn't vaccinating because at that time the government said you've got to build a special separate area for vaccinating. And I think it was because when they collapse, you don't want people to see it.
You're probably right.
So, but he was all excited about it. He said, I'm going to build the room, then I'm going to do it. I said, okay. So I went in last week thinking I was going to be giving him a cease and desist because I didn't do it the first time because he wasn't doing it. I went in and he was busy because funny, pharmacists are always busy. There seems to be a lot of sick people around. I can't imagine why. So, and I don't like to be doing it when there's a lot of people in there. So I waited until it was quiet. I went in and his assistant said, no, we're not doing kids. In fact, we're not really doing many at all anymore. I said, okay. So I walked out and I thought, oh, maybe there's a story there. So I went back in when he was empty and I said, look, I just came in and asked about kids. He said, no, we've never done kids. I said, oh, okay. Why is that? I said, because they never needed it. I said, okay, that's good to know. And I said, have you seen this? And I showed it. He said, yeah, I've read that. I've seen it. I know it's the same now. Even for over 70-year-olds, they're saying now you don't really need it once a year, whatever. And he says, and they just keep changing it. And we had a really interesting conversation because I brought up that I know a lot of people who've got turbo cancers. And he said, so does he. He's seen a lot of it. So I think he was awake. So that's the best result I've had recently going round, recent times. But most of the others, if they are vaccinating kids still, and I show them it, they go, oh yeah, oh, okay, is this the latest thing? And they're not actually being told. They've got to go find it. Yeah. So they've got to look on the website and find it. Because if you remember at the beginning, when they wanted everybody to get vaccinated, there were ads on TV, there were news conferences, there were emails to the pharmacists, there were everything you could think of to tell them to get on with it. But now that it's getting scaled back and it's all changing, they're not actually telling them. They're making you go and find the information.
So they never sent that email saying don't vaccinate under 18s.
No.
Was never sent anywhere.
No.
And 18 in one day is fine. You can
18 in one day is fine. I said to someone today, I said, so I went into one pharmacy and first the pharmacy said, oh, we're not doing children. And I said, okay, good. And then her boss sort of tapped her on the shoulder and they had a chat. She said, sorry, we are, but I thought we were doing, but we're not. And I said, okay, good. And then this other pharmacist who remembered me from when I was in 6 months ago, he said, but we are still offering it to people who are ill. and who have ongoing health issues. I said, but that doesn't make sense. So it's too dangerous if you're healthy, but it's okay if you're already really ill. And he said, yeah. And I'm like, no, that's insane. The logic is insane. And he said, oh, let me explain it a different way. So he said the same thing a different way. And I said, no, that still doesn't make sense. But he didn't get it. I said, thanks, have a great day. And I walked out.
This was the guy that you've been telling me said this today. Yeah, we've already got this.
No, that's a different person.
Oh, this is a different
it's a different place. So it's like...
So this is them just trying to justify the unjustifiable.
Correct. And it's like, I went into one yesterday in a shopping centre, and I brought up the same point, and the woman said to me, are you here to argue? And I said, no. I said, I just want to understand. I said, it doesn't make any sense to me what you've just said. That if it's okay if you're healthy, but if you're not, you can get the jab. But wouldn't that make you even sicker? Because the inference is we want to give you something that may stop you getting a cold, may stop you. But then again, it probably will give you a heart attack or give you, turbo cancer or myocarditis or pericarditis. And that's okay. And that's the logic I don't get. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people say, why are you doing it? I'm doing it because we've got to stop it. We're trying to stop it happening, right? Yeah. That's why we go in. And it will be interesting to see when I've finished. I'm going to do 72 in total because I gave 72 cease and desist notices out.
Wow.
And that took a while.
Yeah.
So I've got to go down to the whole 72 again. And I just want to see where they're at. And some of them, to be honest, like one I went in today, we're still doing children from 12 to 18. But when I showed her the thing, I said, showed her the new directive. I said, are you going to stop doing it now? She says, yes, we will. So I thought, well, that's good, right?
Wow, congratulations.
Thanks. Well, and there was another one, again, a pretty arrogant, I remember him from before. I told him the same thing. They were doing 12 to 18-year-olds. And I said, so are you going to stop doing it now? And he said, no. He said, we're going to talk to the doctors and see what their advice is. And I'm like, okay then. But that's the point, is to tell them, because they're not getting an email. The government's not knocking on the door and saying, by the way, stop doing that because it's killing too many kids. We'll stop doing it.
I wonder how they feel when they got you there and they see you as the enemy, but you've got a letter from the government who's supposed to have their back.
Correct.
Basically throwing them under the bus.
Well, yeah, and that's one I'm looking forward to. There's one in 5 Doc. There was a guy that was very adamant that I had no idea what I was talking about when I saw him 6 months ago, because the government was supplying the vaccines. So he says, of course we're not going to be liable. They're going to be liable because they're giving it to us. And I said, I don't think so. So when I go in with this new one and tell him about the court case, the class action, I'll be very interested to see his reaction. But I'm sure he'll make up some story to justify what he's doing.
Okay, sir. What's your name?
My name's George Keswick.
Now, George Keswick, when did you first come to Australia?
I came to Australia in just before 2000 when I finished working in Saudi Arabia.
What brought you here?
A woman. Yeah, it's usually the way, money or a woman. So I met who was to become my lady that was to become my wife. I met her in Saudi Arabia where I was teaching tennis, and she was a nurse.
Oh, and was she Australian?
Yeah, she was from Sydney, and she still is. So that's why I ended up coming here, because the choice was, we were going to get married. She said, do you want to live in Sydney or Leeds? And it was a really, really tough decision. It took me like 2 seconds to work that out, and so I came to Sydney, and I love it.
Can I ask, were you an activist then? Like, have you always been protesting and like a male Greta Thunberg from an early age, or is this something new?
A protege. No, look, one thing I say to people, if I was listening to myself before 5.5 years ago, the same things I talk about now and do, I would think I was crazy. I think I was completely nutso. No, I was not an activist. I never dreamt of even going on any kind of march or rally or anything. So it's all new, brand new.
It's interesting because a lot of people in the movement like this. So what was it about COVID that really saw you go, actually, no, I'm not going to roll up my sleeve. I'm going to have my say.
Look, there were a number of things. Initially, it was just that nothing made sense. It was like, this is just ridiculous. The dots don't join up. Yeah. What they're saying is happening, I can't see it. Nothing's actually, it don't make sense. And no common sense involved. And it just got crazier and crazier. And then we were doing things like lockdowns. And I thought, well, no, this is the things they're doing to people. I can't stand. I've got to do something about it. And so I just went on my first march in Sydney, where there were about 50,000 people, I think. And then the news when I got home said there were 3.5. So I thought to myself, there might be something going on here. Because I'm quick like that. I'm not great at maths, but there's a bit of a difference there. And when I was actually there, in amongst it, and they're saying, oh, there's only hardly anybody turning up. And I'm like, that's one of the reasons why I went down. I wanted to see myself what was actually happening. And that way I could, because I was there. And people who know me, if they were going to ask, I'd say, well, I was there. What they said on the news was nothing like. And I wanted to see how I would respond, whether I would get caught up in the emotion of it all, because people get really emotive. And I thought, well, if something happens, how will I respond? Can I just stay calm and do my own thing, or will I get too excited and join in? If anything, like if there's any violence or any issues going on, how will I? And I got there and I'm like, no, this is cool. I can just do I'm relaxed. I just want to be part of this. This is great. And the energy was superb. And it was all families. It was young families with kids, old people. And it was just a great energy. So I thought, well, this is what it should be. Yeah. And nothing on the placards was even mildly controversial. Like we weren't swearing at anybody. No, it was just like, keep away from our kids, no lockdowns, no mandates.
So you didn't burn any cars, you didn't loot any iPhone stores?
Didn't punch any horses, none of that. And it was incredible. And then the names that people were being called after that, I'm like, well, I don't know, because they weren't actually doing anything. They were just saying very reasonable things like, keep off our kids and no mandates. What's funny, those things actually came in, all the things they were saying they don't want. And that was kind of a real eye-opener then once I did that. And the kind of aftermath, because I had people on Facebook who I knew were coming back, actually friends, and saying, what were you trying to achieve by going down there? Because at the time there were $10,000 fines to going down, right? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding. And I think what they also did on the news, they were saying, oh, we can trace people. We can trace everybody that was there, so don't come down. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. And one real beauty was, I went down on the ferry, because I love going in the city on the ferry, right? So I got on the ferry. First thing the ferry master says is, do you need to be in the city for a reason, right? Excuse me, I'm laughing too much. Do you need to be in the city for a reason? Because it was the time when it was supposed to be banned to have a march in Australia. Right? They did it for a little while. I don't know what that was all about. But so they were doing that, and the ferry master says, look, there's a police boat next to us. What they're doing is, if you don't need to be in the city, they're following us and they're going to wait for you at the quay and they're going to fine you if you don't need. And I was like, yeah, okay, I need to be in, no problem. So I get on and I'm going and I'm starting to get really nervous. And I'm like, do I want to do this? And only recently, they say they're following us. They're after me. So recently to then, a friend of mine had actually shown me how to talk to the police. There was a protocol you could use so you wouldn't get into trouble, and I'd been practicing it, but I wasn't super confident. And I thought, look, if I was walking down the street somewhere and they came up to me, that's one thing, but I'm walking into the lion's den. Do I really want to do it? And I'm like, and I nearly got off at Balmain, and I thought, no, I said I'm going to do it. So I stayed on, got to the quay, no cops. And I'm like, well, they just said that, so they're going to scare you off. So then when I got in the city, my friend rang me and he said, okay, we're going to role play now. So I'm going to be the cops and I'm going to try and get you to slip up. So he actually talked to me while I'm going through the city, and he's the bad cop, and and he said, that was good, you're fine, you're good to go.
I'm going to say, before we get to the work that you do with the chemists and Forest of the Fallen and Cafe Lockdown, anyone who didn't take the jab has been on an odyssey, and they're still on it. What are some of the trials that you've had to go through? I know you've had high points, but what are some of the low points that's really stunned you, and yet you haven't been able to sort of give up your stance?
Some of the low points, definitely one was getting banned from Christmas dinner for 2 years running from my family, from my wife's, my family as well, my wife's sister and
Was
brother.
it both of you or just you? Just you. I don't have to go first.
It was just me, but she didn't go either for the first 2 years because obviously she could have gone, but we went away for the Christmas time anyway. So that hurt, and then at one point last year we were invited back again, or the year before, and I said no, I'm not going until I get an apology, which I thought was reasonable. Anyway, I was told I wouldn't get an apology, so kind of that was it, and then that year, my wife did go, and I went to see some friends on Christmas Day. So that hurt. But a lot of people going through that, though. So there was that. There was some friends I've definitely lost through it as well. Who basically think I'm crazy. And like I said, 5.5 years ago, I would think I was crazy if I was listening to me. But not now. It's like, this is so obvious.
Why aren't you crazy? There's a good question.
Why aren't I crazy? Sometimes during the really crazy times, I'd wake up thinking, is it me? Am I actually nuts? But then I'd think, oh no, I'm not. I could walk around and I'm like, no, everybody's got a mask on. No, I'm all right. It's not me. It's not me. So then I'd think logically about what I've seen or what's happened, and I said, well, no, it still doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do that? And if people look back now, if they're honest, and they look back some of the nonsense and say, well, that's ridiculous. Why would I do that? You know, like sitting here with a mask on and you're not allowed to have someone with you. And you know what I mean? It's like a mate of mine got kicked off the beach. He was in the water. He was in the water at DY swimming and he got kicked out the water by the cops. And I'm like, come on. Come on. So apart from that, the other low point, I lost my business. That went under. I had a gym.
How long you had the gym?
I had the gym about 7 years.
Were you enjoying it? Because it's hard work.
Yeah. It was. I was a tennis coach, and I stopped doing that because I got the gym, and it was going okay. We'd moved and got a bigger premises, and it was actually doing well. Then we stopped for the first lockup, and we survived that. The first lockup, we lost some members that it didn't go crazy, and the only good thing to come out of the lockdown the first time was all the other gyms with all the other F45s I was with, they were charging people for online stuff. Sorry. Okay, I'll keep my hand still. So you can't put your arm like that. You're not allowed to do that. You can't do that, Mike.
Sorry, he's pointing at a bird. I look at it. It's a big pelican. He's just coming in now.
Quick, the helicopter's coming down with the SWAT team. So the gym, the only good thing was they were all charging people for online classes, and I thought, nah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to charge people for that because that's really skanky. So I said, we'll do it for free. I got some of my trainers to do programs. I did it for free. And after that, I got a message from the local MP in Burwood who said she'd stood up in Parliament and actually mentioned us for what we'd done for the community. And I thought, that's pretty, I didn't even know her. She'd never been to a class. And I thought, that's pretty cool. So we opened the second time, and then we closed again, and then we got smashed because people just left, just kept leaving because they were scared. It was still a lot of uncertainty. People still didn't really want to go out and mix with other people. It was that kind of time, you know. So then that kind of more or less went under. I ended up giving the gym away more or less just to get it off my hands. Yeah. So that happened. So that was, I'd say, that was a low point. And kind of my marriage has ended because of it as well. So I'm separated now because my wife didn't get what I get. So we were kind of different sides of the war, both on different sides of the war. And
listen to that statement you just said. On different sides of the war.
I know. Well,
one side knows there's a war and we're fighting it. The other side goes, "What are you on about?"
Yeah, I know. It's just back to normal, isn't it? Really. Yeah. So look, it is a war, and it has been, and like I say to people, COVID, as I call it, was just the beginning. It was the setup to see what people would do. And when you see what they would do, it is a bit worrying, really, that they would, and that the ease with which people accepted things and how they were happy to ostracize others just on the say-so of someone on the TV. I mean, I recently watched, I reposted something where we had our sickness minister talking about what you should and shouldn't do in COVID. And if you meet a friend in the supermarket, ignore them. Don't talk to them because you might spread something or catch something, and I don't know what. But anyway, something from 6 foot or 20 foot away. And I'm like, and people believe that. And I'm like, how did anybody want to? It's just crazy. So yeah, that happened. But as we know, a lot of people just didn't see it or don't see it. And I'm like, well, that's part of the war. It was, and slowly people are becoming more aware. I wouldn't say they're waking up to the extent where they want to do something constructive to help or to change the world as it is, because it's still weird. But there is more. People are becoming more aware of like it was bullshit or really crazy stuff was done, and they went along with it. So that's encouraging. It's encouraging.
Did you, to get over losing your business and losing your wife? I mean, that could take a lot of people out.
Oh, and my mother, she was killed with a poison shot. That was another big one. That was one of the first ones. She was 95, right? I saw Christmas 2019, which was the last time I saw before the craziness started. And she was getting over pneumonia. Now, pneumonia knocks off most oldies, right? It's hard to get over. She had it for like 4 months, a long time. And when I was with her, we'd be watching TV at night and she'd be lying on the couch and she'd fall asleep. And I'd actually get to a stage where I was scared she'd actually passed away because I couldn't hear her. And I'd go next to her and listen. And she'd wake up, and that was cool. So when I was pleased that I got to see her that time, thinking that was probably the last time I might see her anyway, because I was going back every 2 years to see her in England, where she lived. And she lived on her own. She had stairs in the house. She was had all the marbles about as strong as an ox, did all the shopping, everything, no problem, right? So then she got over the pneumonia. Then she rang me one day and said, oh, I've got COVID. And I was a little concerned because it was allegedly knocking off the oldies, right? So I would ring her every day. She said, and she got over it. She went to hospital, came out fine, which was a win anyway, getting out of hospital, wasn't it? So, and I rang her every day. She said, stop ringing me every day. Ring me once a week like you normally do. I'm all right. I'm like, great, okay. So then, 4 months later or something, she says, oh, sorry, there's a plane.
No, I'm just...
4 months later, she says, oh, I've just had my injection. I said, for what? She said, oh, for COVID. I said, you don't need it. You've had it and got over it. You don't need the vaccine now. And anyway, and then she had the second one. And we almost had an argument about it. She said, oh, and I said, I'm not getting it. She said, oh, go on. I said, go on. I said, no, everybody wants us to get it, but I'm not getting it. She said, oh, anyway, I didn't do it. And then after the second one, and she was 96 now, after the second one, she was literally in hospital weekly for 2 days. Ambulance would come on a Monday. She'd go on Monday, Tuesday. They'd bring her home. I'd say, what's wrong? She said, they can't find anything wrong with me. I'm just having breathing problems. They can't find anything, but I don't feel right. I'm like, okay. So this went on for like 6 weeks, and then she went into hospital and never came out. She was there for 8 weeks, just went downhill really fast. And I know it was the poison. I thought, and she'd always said, I never wanted to go into nursing home, and she wasn't gonna, but I thought, what a tragic way for her to die, to be in a hospital room on her own. Anybody that comes in will have gloves on and a mask on. It'll be scary, and it won't be people who love her or care. And I thought it'll be really, what a way to go. And I thought, she didn't deserve that. She had an amazing life, and I thought that was so tough. And I knew I couldn't go back because I wasn't jabbed, so I couldn't fly. But I accepted that, right? So that was like, that was pretty tough. That was pretty tough. So I had that as well. So I've had a few down points, low points.
In those three things, though,
Yep.
each one of them is brutal.
Yeah.
Put together, are you surprised you found the strength within you to get over it or to keep going? This is a part of the Odyssey. We learn about ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I definitely think I always knew I was a strong character. I knew I was a strong person. Probably not. I'm actually not surprised that I've kept going, but the determination and the courage to keep going and see things through has definitely kept me going. So I know I can do anything now, really, because you can't. I've often said you can't bribe me, you can't scare me, you can't bully me. It don't matter. You can do what you want. So I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing, and so and now I've always been the sort of person where I like helping people. That's always been my career path in whatever I've done, and I love being with people, right? So this is kind of an extension of that, where I'm helping in another way. Normally I'll help with, excuse me, where it'll be tennis or self-defense or pickleball or my positivity pandemic, where I'm actually helping you feel good or get the most out of what you do, right? But this is, I'm acknowledging people who've been damaged and are treated badly, and I'm also trying to raise awareness for them and for what's happening in the world. And with my show on a Friday, I'm actually trying to keep the spirits up of people who've also had issues like I have, you know what I mean? Because we need that as well, because you've got to enjoy your life. I mean, if we just say, well, I'm just going to fight all the time, or I'm going to be angry all the time, that's crap. That you're going to get burnt out, and then it's that you're not enjoying it, because we don't know how long we're here. So well, you've got to still enjoy what you do, right? You've got to enjoy your life, so you can give time to this fighting and pushing and wanting a better world and wanting to
Sound like you're setting in for a long haul fight.
hey, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, and I don't see a win point. I know some people say when they stop jabbing, it's a win, or when they stop doing that, or this happens, that's a win. That's my job done. And I don't think so. I think you just keep going, because you don't know when. You don't know when the break point is going to be, when you're going to break the wall, right? I think I was saying this to you earlier. We keep chipping away. And you chip away in different ways, in different angles, and you keep changing the pressure at different places, and eventually you get a tiny little crack in the dam, then it becomes a bigger one, and then it goes. And then hopefully, you know, the world it won't go back to what it was. It never will. You can't go back, but it might evolve into something better.
Something more conducive to our souls.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is Saturday, 28th of June 2025, and we are here at DY Beach at Forest of the Fallen. It's a beautiful winter's day, lots of people walking by. We're looking forward to having lots of great conversations, so I'll keep you posted. Saturday, 28th of June 2025, DY Beach, Forest of the Fallen.
Hello, my name's Julie Bly, and yes, after our third immunisation for the COVID, my husband had a memory loss for about 20 minutes, and before I could take him to the hospital, my sister-in-law rang to say that my other sister-in-law was in an ambulance on her way to Gundagai Hospital, and with racing heart,
And she had a vaccine as well at that time?
yes,
Is that right?
yes.
Was that the third one as well?
The third one, and that was the Pfizer.
Right, and what were the first two? AstraZeneca, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you all had the Pfizer, the third one.
Yes, and my sister-in-law, who just rang, said I'm about to take my husband because he's got high blood pressure. And then within a week, the other brother-in-law had heart trouble, too, into Gundagai Hospital, Wagga Hospital. And I too had pains in my leg, which I thought could have been a clot. It turned out it wasn't, but it was all very closely following those injections.
Right, okay, so basically all your immediate family was having
Yes.
problems at the same time after getting the third injection, which was a Pfizer.
That's right.
And are you all okay now?
As far as I know.
Okay, that's great. Good to hear. Look, thank you very much for telling us your story today, Julie. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, George.
All right.
Be
Okay,
careful
thanks.
going up the stairs.
How did you get involved with the Forest of the Fallen, and what's that experience been like?
How did I get involved? I wanted to do something, and someone had mentioned Forest of the Fallen, and so it was, they were looking for someone on a Christmas Eve and a New Year's Eve, which I thought was interesting. And so my first experience was a Christmas Eve. I thought, look, I want to do something over that time and maybe even continue after that, because I felt it was something practical I could do to help and make a difference. So I did the Christmas Eve, loved it, did the New Year's Eve, loved it, and from then on I've been doing it every weekend for now about a year and a half. So that's why I started doing it.
And you've got some extraordinary stories you pick up every week, sometimes interviews, but sometimes stories. What are some of the ones that have really moved you?
One that really moved me recently was a lady started telling me about how she really, really didn't want to get the jabs, but she did it because her ex-husband or estranged husband wasn't going to let her see the children. So she got the jabs and she ended up being really sick, and she knew that's what it was, but she took that chance and made that decision because she couldn't live without seeing the children. So that's one of the sad stories I hear on a regular basis.
How do you deal with this sadness?
It's it's difficult. You have to be able to almost compartmentalize. So you deal with it at the time, but you have to let it go. So if I was to remember or think about the stories I've heard all the time when I go home, it would be too difficult. So you listen to the people, you're empathetic, you appreciate what they're telling you the best you can, and you tell their story. So again, just by telling their story, it makes it better for them, I think, just so more people know that they've been affected. And but you have to let go of it. You can't hold on because it would be too difficult.
And have you had any bad reactions, people?
Yeah, I've had. You still get people quite incredibly think it's all fake, and these people who are telling you their stories and who were in the forest would actually make that up, which I find quite abhorrent, and I don't understand it at all as a decent human being. That people would think, I don't see the bonus. What are we getting out of that? What are they getting out of doing that? And so not that long ago, a few women on the same day, and it was just after the government had ramped up the fear on the latest variant. And these women gave me a hard time saying, well, because I wasn't a doctor and I didn't have medical experience, they didn't want to listen to me. And the vaccine saved millions of lives, which I hear a lot. So, of course, there's no way of proving that. But in general, the remarks are positive. And a lot of people now are saying who have had the jab wish they had never had. And they know it was all nonsense before, but they felt at the time they had to do it for whatever reason. To see family, to have to travel to keep their job, and took it and now wish they hadn't have done. That's the main stories I'm hearing at the moment.
Are you seeing a change in people? You think people are more receptive now to listening and talking about the last few years, that more than they were, say, 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago?
Not really. I think it's been steady the whole way through. I think people, depends on where the forest is set up and what the weather's like, of course, people will come by, and they've always been happy to come and talk to us. But obviously the more accessible the forest is where we've set up determines whether people will stop by or not. And but I think all the way through it's been quite positive from the comments, even from the beginning when we were doing it. So there's not that many people who are negative about it when we're there, which is good.
How about the police and the councils?
Well, it's interesting. As long as I've been doing it, the police have only ever come out once, and that was because some old guy complained and said we're pretty sure he was angry about what we were doing. I don't know why. And then the police came soon after and just happened to be in the area. They were just passing by, of course, they weren't called out. And they asked whether we had a permit, and we said because we were on a beach, we didn't need one because it's public land, and they left us alone. And other than that, there's been council workers a couple of times. Both times they've been a little bit over-enthusiastic, shall we say, and been taking the flags out of the ground without asking us or just pulling them out. And we've said you can't do that, and we've basically put them back in, and they've left us alone. But that's really the only issues we've had. Even now that we're on the grass, a lot of the time at DY, we haven't had an issue. No one's come over and tried to move us on.
You become a part of the landscape.
Hopefully that's a good thing. Yeah.
What are your feelings moving forward with it? Do you think it's still working as because it's an installation art piece, really? I know that the numbers are dwindling around the country. Would you like even some help to come down and setting it up, or what do you think?
Look, going forwards, I think it's still a very positive vehicle going forwards for spreading the word and informing people and raising awareness of what's been happening, and it's still happening with people getting injured and being sick. And I think it works and will continue to work because it's subtle. We're not ramming it down anybody's throat. We're not forcing it on anyone. We're not telling anyone how it is. We just have it set up, and if people want to come and talk to us, if they're interested, if they're inquisitive, they'll come and talk to us. And then we just listen, and we talk to them, and we listen to them. And if people want to tell us a story, they do. So I think for that reason, it's a very humane, easy way of being able to, for people to approach us. And because it's not fully in your face, and we're not forcing you to listen to the message, I think that's also why it works.
Okay, so my name is Paolo, and I want to tell you a story about my 3 vaccine. Okay, and I got it for work because it was a compulsory. So I didn't have any effect when I got the vaccine, okay, but in 2022 I just discovered that I got a glaucoma, and then normally glaucoma coming from family is like a close, like a mother and father, but nobody in my family has glaucoma. Even with a strong myopia, can get a glaucoma, but actually my vision is fine. So now I already lost one eye, and then I can see only in the middle, all the left eyes, and the right eye, my optic nerve is completely damaged. So I don't know how much I can have to see sun, and then so yeah, this is my story. And
now,
I suppose the only way I can think about is the vaccine.
And how soon after your 3rd vaccine did you start to realise there was something wrong?
I start a little bit to be weak. Okay, a little bit weak.
Yes.
I feel no really 100%. Okay.
Yes.
But I discovered in 2022 because unfortunately glaucoma doesn't give you any symptoms.
Yes.
Okay, I discovered because I was lucky, and then because the sun went in my eyes, and I went to the hospital, and then when I measured the pressure in my eyes, my pressure was too big. Like
Right.
4.
And when did you have the injections? Was it just before then? Or
It was last one. I don't know. The last one was I don't know. 2000. Yeah, probably was February 2022.
Right.
Or something
Okay.
like that. Yeah,
And
it
soon
was the
after
last
that.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And the doctors obviously didn't say they thought it was the injection.
They don't have any explanation
No
because
explanation.
they say that glaucoma normally coming from family. My brother doesn't have glaucoma, so
Yes.
I'm the only one in the family who have glaucoma.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay, look, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate telling the story today, Pablo. Thank you.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Yeah,
Thanks.
bye.
Okay, I want to ask you about your show. When you started it, were you going to do it like you did it, or did you have you made it up as you go along, the way you interact with the audience? Because you do that beautifully.
Do I make it up as I go along?
Like, did you have a plan for when you did the show? I'm going to do this, and then suddenly realised, hey, I've got a live audience.
Right.
Here.
Yeah. Okay.
So you developed it as you went.
Yeah, well, the idea was I have not a script, but I've got pointers of what I want to talk about. So I'll look at the news for the week, what I've been doing in the week, and I'll say, I want to talk about these things. But it changed, because what happened was, because of the comments coming in, I basically then became more ad lib, and I would work with what people would actually responding to me with, and that's how the shows developed. Danger Dan, the lisp. I've not seen it. Big Booty, I haven't seen it. Wow, Coldplay, we've done that. We are going to Barry Obama. He calls himself Barack Obama, but his name's actually Barry. He renamed himself because it sounds a bit more exotic, doesn't it? Barack instead of Barry. Barack. So I still have things I want to talk about. Like I joke to the audience saying, well, I've only got 6 pieces of paper in front of me, so I should finish on time. And then because they talk a lot and keep commenting, it goes over time, so I blame them. So basically, it's what they say, and it becomes a two-way thing. And they can comment on what I'm talking about, and then it takes me off a different tangent. And then, thankfully, I remember what I was talking about at some point, and then I come back to it. And it goes on like that. So there's usually a thread running through what I talk about as well, and then I will come back on point again as often as I can remember.
The interesting thing is, it reminds me what you're doing, MSN can't do. We can't have a show on mainstream TV that does what you're doing because they can't interact with the audience. the same way.
Right, yeah, of course.
So
I didn't
it's
think of
It's
that.
something unique,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And we're called Cafe Lockdown, but you literally are like someone working the coffee machine, saying hello as people come in and chatting to them. So it's actually like a community, and I'm watching the comments of the people not only talking to you but talking to each other.
Yes, yeah, that's right. And sometimes I'll come in on a comment, because there's so many, I'll come in on a comment and I'll go, I've missed something because I don't understand. And then what they're saying is, oh, we're talking to each other while you're doing the show, and I don't realise that, and I'll miss it, and they'll have a laugh about it, and I'll catch up, and then I'll come in. So it's it's a great. I love the interaction.
That's the stuff with the llamas or the alpacas.
The alpacas,
I missed the start of that, but it's an in-joke now.
It is
I
now.
don't even think you should say what it is. It's just this in-joke.
Okay, it is an in-joke, yes. George's alpacas.
And yet there are people going on for ages.
Yeah, they do. And then when I do I do like a little promo for the show on a Friday morning, I'll put it out on my thing, and I'll always mention the alpacas and say that you have to be in by 6:03 because the show starts at 6, but you've got to be in by 6:03 because the demand is so incredible, basically because I made it up, that you won't be let in after that because the alpacas are on the door, so they're going to stop you coming in. So,
did you ever think when you were being a tennis coach in Dubai or teaching martial arts that you'd end up in a podcast in Sydney entertaining a load of orphans who've been kicked out of society?
No. No, it's not something I ever thought of. But it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. And I'm glad it brings enjoyment to people because a lot of them do say to me, I can't wait for Friday nights.
Yeah, it's great.
Which is great. And that makes it worthwhile. And
have you ever run out of material?
No. And sometimes I'll get to Wednesday and I'm like, it's Wednesday, I've only got 3 pieces of paper. What am I going to do? But then it gets to Friday and I've got 6 at least or 7. And then when they bring stuff up, I'm like, hang on, that's not on my board. I don't have that written down. Oh, okay, I'll mention that. And then we talk about that. So they'll give me little prompters of something they've missed. But no, it's great. I mean, I've even had people sending me messages privately saying, I'm really sorry, but I won't be there tonight to watch. I've got to go to hospital. I've just had a near fatal car crash. But I'm really sorry. Which is great. And then I say to the others,
Did you say you need evidence? Or what evidence?
No, I'll say that's the dedication I like from my viewers. You should all be like that.
Yeah, that's the strange thing about Cafe Lockdown. We had 2 pages that didn't work the other day, and I found you. So they're actually actively seeking you out if you're not there. They know the other pages you've been to.
Yeah.
And they seek it out. This is everything a business craves for. That man of loyalty, Anyway, that's about it for me. It's a joy to be here. Joy to finally meet you long term. I've interviewed you briefly before.
Yes.
And I wish you well because I think you're doing extraordinary work.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
And we need, entertaining the troops.
I like it.
Yeah.
And they are troops. We are
like
troops.
Dad ain't half hot, Mum. It's almost like that. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's Friday with George. Yeah. But I do think anyone watching, I think we should call him our George. It's very English to say that from some parts of English, and that's what he is. He is our George. Thanks, man.
Thanks. Oh, that was good.
We came down from Darwin with the dust in our veins. We drove across the Nullarbor, driven by change. There were convoys from Melbourne and busloads from Cairns, where we camped at Wodonga and fueled up at Pheasant's Nest. And there were tears of hope singing through our liberated eyes as we scrawled freedom forever across our government's lives. As we scrawled freedom forever across all our government's lives. And we didn't come to start a war, and we didn't come to hate. Instead we came to remind you that we were still your mates. And we didn't come to start a war, and we didn't come to hate. Instead we came to remind you that it was not too late. But our country had gone crazy, corrupted by fear. And before us the long path was already flooded with tears. Yet in epic we were dancing, for we knew what we'd done. Together we'd made the birth of all our freedoms. And this new cry for liberty were the smiles in our hugs, as the cops haunted our periphery like tyranny's new thugs. But for one night in Canberra we knew we were aglow, and our luminance was shining like a beacon of hope. And we didn't come to start a war, and we didn't come to hate. Instead we came to remind you that we were still your mates. And we didn't come to start a war, and we didn't come to hate. Instead we came to remind you that it was not too late. So never forget how, by just being authentic, we drew a deep line in their cold sand, from a showground called epic. So never forget how, by leading the way, we wrote a fresh song of freedom that you can still sing today. So sing like you've never sung before. Sing now like your soul's found its wings. Sing out like an echo through our time, until our grandchildren are born humming our lines. Until our grandchildren are born in the freedom's warm and glorious light. Until our grandchildren are born in the freedom's warm and glorious light.